all of the leeches, and all of those who had benefited off the death of Michael Jackson, and the many questions that are still left that have not been answered regarding his death. But this is one of the few shows that have dared to even broach the subject and approach the subject and go deep into the subject regarding the death of Michael Jackson. But let me give you this clip talking about Martin O'Malley chooses, again, Jim Smith, his partner or former partner in crime, to become the new head of the Maryland Department of Transportation over the black man who's been there since last summer, who has been, I guess, obviously proven that he's qualified, but clearly blacks need not apply for positions inside of Martin O'Malley's administration right now. So where are these black organizations that press him and stress him regarding blacks having key positions inside of his administration, from your lieutenant governor down there to some of these other so-called prominent civil rights leaders around this issue of black representation, and then blacks having opportunities under this enormous amount of wealth, $3.7 billion. That's not nothing to sneeze at, $3.7 billion. But that's politics we're talking about, not politics or politricks, but politics. So let me go to this clip, and then we'll come back and get into more of the state of the city as we're talking about this new position or this new head, and he's really not new, just a bobblehead for Martin O'Malley and the criminal enterprise that have moved from the city of Baltimore now to the state of Maryland. So here now is the clip from WBAL talking about that. So listen to this message, then we'll come back in and get into more of the state of the city as we look at the trial of the Jackson family versus AEG. So let me get this infomercial out of the way, and we'll get right into this clip talking about former county exec Jim Smith as the head of the Maryland Department of Transportation.
Commuters on the Baltimore Beltway's west side are probably used to navigating through construction zones. So the governor's announcement Wednesday of a $90 million Beltway expansion project simply adds to the new normal around here.
And we're also going to be able to give moms and dads more time at work and at home rather than more time spent in bumper-to-bumper traffic.
Scheduled to begin in the spring of 2015, the project will widen the Beltway's outer loop for a 1-mile stretch from Route 40 south to the Frederick Road exit, where it'll meet up with the rest of the Beltway that's already 4 lanes. Work is already underway to replace the Frederick Road Bridge, a project that makes the Beltway widening possible.
Before the Beltway first opened in 1962, it could take you approximately an hour and a half to go from this community in Catonsville to reach the community of Essex. And now with the construction of the Beltway, on some days, it still takes an hour and a half.
This push to 4 lanes in one of the most congested parts of people's daily commute is one of the first projects to be funded by the controversial gas tax hike state lawmakers passed this year.
No one else is going to do these sorts of things for us. They are things we choose to do ourselves because these are the things that create jobs and expand opportunity here in our state.
Well, welcome back. You're listening to the State of the City. Again, that was regarding your governor and the enormous amount of money that's being spent around the state, and, of course, his announcement of the former Baltimore County exec, his good friend Jim, who, of course, is now the head of the Maryland Department of Transportation, picking over. As I said, this is the Memorial Day, of course, after Memorial Day. So you always have the leftover, the picked over, the moved over, and shift over. So we see the moving over and the shifting over of, again, a qualified black man and Mr. Darrell Mobley by your Teflon leprechaun governor. And we'll come back and get more into that story, time willing, tomorrow as well. But let me now transition into what I wanted to get into, which was to talk about the case of, again, AEG versus the Jackson family, and have an opportunity to talk about the bombshell, which, of course, dropped in the courtroom yesterday, as well as the smoking gun regarding the emails that were being sent back and forth between Paul Gungangaware and others regarding, of course, the setup of Michael Jackson, as he said that he worked with other artists from Elvis Presley to Led Zeppelin to the Grateful Dead. Of course, we know what happened to Elvis Presley, as well as members of the Grateful Dead and Rick James. So he has a track record over these past 3 decades, obviously, of having artists that he supposedly works with that are getting ready to go out and do tours. And all of a sudden, these artists find themselves doing what perhaps may be their last tour with the likes of these individuals with AEG. But let me go to this clip, and I always have to introduce this as evidence, which was the clip of Michael Jackson years ago talking about Sony and him being a free agent as he broke away from Sony. And then we'll play the clip regarding the news story. Maybe we'll do the news story first before we come back into and give you this piece regarding, again, Michael Jackson and his message regarding Sony and his breaking away of Sony, because some have not heard this before in their lives regarding Michael Jackson. So let me get into this piece regarding the exec and what was talked about at the trial yesterday and what's been ongoing with the trial as well, that most of your mainstream media refuses to want to talk about for some reason, because obviously you would begin to see bigger questions that have to be asked here regarding the death of Michael Jackson and looking at who benefits as well. So let me go to this first clip. I believe it was ABC local in Los Angeles talking about the trial. And again, Mr. Gungaware, who began to sound more like Ronald Reagan with I can't recall, as what he continued to say. But there was already some public testimony that I think he forgot about that had been made private and now has been made public. Another interesting point to this trial is the 84-year-old matriarch of the family, the beautiful Katherine Jackson, has attended the court proceedings every day, and the judge has only allowed 2 Jackson family members to attend the trial. There cannot be more than 2 members in the court. So even with that, we have the, again, smoking gun as well as the bombshells that are dropping in the courtroom, while most of it is being ignored by the mainstream news media and black news media as well. So let me see if we can transition out of this portal, and we'll give you, again, this piece that I wanted to share with you regarding the procedures and what went down in the courtroom yesterday. So listen with an open heart, open ears, and open mind as we're talking about the wrongful death trial of AEG versus the Jackson family.
Listen, your storyline.
Let me get this infomercial out of the way. Got another infomercial that we got to get out of the way, and then we can get right into the story. So again, you're tuned to the State of the City, transitioning into the trial of the Jacksons versus, again, AEG and the wrongful death lawsuit against AEG. Listen to this, and we'll come back with more of the State of the City.
One of the defendants in the Michael Jackson wrongful death lawsuit took the witness stand today. AEG Live executive Paul Gungaware is one of the officials accused of hiring Michael Jackson's doctor, Conrad Murray. Eyewitness News reporter Miriam Hernandez joins us live in downtown Los Angeles in today's court action. Miriam.
Well, that's right. It was a big day for this trial. The jury has heard from witnesses for the past month. Today they heard from a major player. As you said, he is a defendant named in this case, and he's worked with Jackson for over 2 decades.
This is it. I mean, this is really it.
The announcement was out. Michael Jackson's tour was set, but not before contentious emails flew between the show producers. A central figure, co-CEO of AEG Live, Paul Gungaware, who is named as a defendant in the lawsuit filed by Katherine Jackson. She and daughter Janet looked on as Mrs. Jackson's attorney Brian Panish fired questions at Gungaware on wide-ranging topics. Gungaware in emails calling Jackson Mikey, once describing Jackson as lazy. Did you try to trick Michael Jackson? Panish asks, showing jurors another email. In it, Gungaware asks cohorts to pitch Jackson numbers that project gross receipts, not the net, to make the numbers sound bigger. Gungaware says he didn't recall the email. In another, Gungaware says his team was aware of Jackson's idiosyncrasies. Attorney Panish asked if that included painkillers and questioned his truthfulness. Gungaware testified first he knew about Jackson's dependency on meds because Jackson announced he was entering rehab after the Dangerous Tour in 1993, a tour that Gungaware had worked on. Later, Gungaware said he learned Jackson was treated with meds on that tour. Attention soon turned to Conrad Murray, the doctor convicted of involuntary manslaughter after Jackson died of a sedative overdose. Gungaware had testified at Murray's trial that signing on Murray was Michael's request.
He said, "This is the machine. We have to take care of the machine. This is what I want. I want Dr. Murray."
The Jacksons are suing Gungaware for hiring Murray. Gungaware testified that he never checked out the doctor because Murray had been with Jackson for 3 years prior. Gungaware told the jury, quote, "It was not up to me to tell Michael Jackson who his doctor should be." Since Gongaware is a defendant, he's being questioned as an adverse witness. What that means is that Panish is having to prod him from many different angles to get the responses he wants. But I can tell you that the jury is looking at this all very, very intently and taking a lot of notes. Reporting live from downtown Los Angeles, Miriam Hernandez, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Welcome back. Again, now that was ABC 7 and Los Angeles, California. Let me go to this next clip. I believe it's from CNN talking about, again, the bombshell that dropped in the courtroom regarding the wrongful death of Michael Jackson. And we'll come back in, go a little deeper in the show before we open up the lines at 410-761-1592. I'm sure this is probably another infomercial that we got to get out of the way, and then we'll come right in and get into, of course, this next clip that we definitely want to share with you regarding, again, the wrongful death suit by the Jackson family, and we have to keep them in prayer as we look at the 84-year-old matriarch, Mama Catherine Jackson, and of course her just having to endure all of this and continuing to go to the court every day that she's been doing this and having to hear the things said about her son, who of course a mother that loves her son and loves her son tremendously. So let me go to this clip now, and then we'll come back in and get into more of the state of the city regarding promoter grilled on the death of Michael Jackson.
2009 at 4:11 p.m., Paul Gongaware, and then your email address wrote. Do you see that?
Yes.
It says, Frank and I have discussed it already and have requested a face-to-face meeting with the doctor, hopefully Monday. We want to remind him that it is AEG, not MJ, who is paying his salary. We want him to understand what is expected of him. He has been dodging Frank so far. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Did you write that email?
I don't recall.
Okay, now underneath it says Paul G. Is that how you normally sign off on emails?
Some of them, yes.
So you have no recollection of sending this email?
No.
So again, welcome back. Again, that's the bombshell that broke in the courtroom. If I can go back and give it to you again, you can hear it for yourself. Let me get this infomercial. It's only about maybe a minute long, but this is why you have to, again, seek out this information that's out there, that's available regarding this case that's going on in Los Angeles. Same courtroom, but yet they won't let you see and hear this on CNN, or Court TV or any of these other stations that constantly fed you the O.J. Simpson trial, will constantly feed you perhaps the George Zimmerman trial, constantly fed you the Casey Anthony trial, and the Jodi Arias trial. So let me give you this clip. Then we'll come back in and go to the other clip with Michael Jackson talking about his fight, of course, with Sony and his breaking away with Sony and, of course, what may have led to his ultimate untimely death at the hands of those who would murder Michael Jackson. And when you see these type of events and tragedies, conspiracies, we always have to ask Kibono, who benefits from the death of Michael Jackson in terms of for the land, for his music, for his publishing catalog, music catalog, and of course continue to make money off the royalties that Michael Jackson owned and the number of artists that Michael Jackson owned as well. So listen to this.
To remind him that it is AEG, not MJ, who is paying his salary. Based on the assumptions that AEG is your company and MJ is Michael Jackson, do you have an understanding of what that means?
No, I don't understand it because we weren't paying his salary.
So why would you write that?
I have no idea.
Then let's go on to the next sentence. When you say his salary, who are you talking about?
I don't know.
Oh. But how do you know you weren't paying his salary if you don't know who we're talking about?
I don't remember this email.
Didn't you just testify that we weren't paying his salary?
AEG?
Yes. No, you just testified we weren't paying his salary. You just testified to that a few seconds ago. Right?
I guess.
Well, whose salary are you referring to? Dr. Murray's?
Yes.
Okay, then let's go on to the next sentence. We want him to understand what is expected of him, period. Do you know what you meant there?
No.
Is there a word in that sentence that you don't understand?
I don't understand the sentence.
I'll read it again. We want him to understand what is expected of him. Does that help?
No.
I'm gonna put in place of him what I think it's supposed to be and see if that helps. We want Dr. Murray to understand